Let's talk about AI today, and let's look at a few things from a few different angles. And what I wanted to do was explore this concept of quality with AI. And I really do hope more people see this particular discussion because it connects to what we refer to as hype and sensationalized news that doesn't really touch on what people are really seeing with artificial intelligence. So, for a good while, I was one of those that said that AI did not have real substance and real validity to it. I've used ChatGPT for 2.5 years, but I largely trivialized the AI tools during that time frame until recently when I compared some of the results that I got with what some people were reporting in different areas. The channels that I watch is Startup Hack, and he is a founder and a fractional CEO. He works with different businesses in implementing technology as well as AI. And he also has some criticisms about artificial intelligence, and I largely share his point of view in terms of how the industry at large may portray software developers as redundant or unnecessary in this age of AI. And so I think that messaging is starting to change as the reality sets in. And one of the videos that he put out that caught my attention was the one that was explaining the release of GPT-5 and how GPT-5 had a serious error that people are talking about.
If you want somebody who's definitely going to roast people, you can go follow Gary Marcus. He gives you a lot of good stuff, and he particularly, like me, does not care for ChatGPT, Sam Altman, or OpenAI. So he's in good company with me here. But so Gary Kerr came to say solve 5.9 equals x plus 5.1, and this, subtract 5.1 from both sides, and you get x equals negative 20, negative 0.21. Obviously, clearly this is wrong, right? And this is definitely wrong. And we're seeing a lot of different edge cases like this that are hitting this. Now, this isn't a kind of an edge case, right? This also is not some complex math problem, right? This is something that should be basic arithmetic that's taught in school. But it really highlights how these LLM models work, right? This is the same model that OpenAI claims will revolutionize healthcare, education, and scientific research. So the fact that this PhD level AI can't handle simple subtraction raises some pretty serious questions.
Or can the AI handle simple arithmetic consistently and accurately? So I had responded to the comments on this video where I had did my own I double checked this particular math problem in GPT-5, and I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything wrong. So I got a totally different answer, and Startup Hack's reply is accurate. Sometimes it nails it, sometimes it doesn't. Still need humans for real development work, and that's really what his focus is letting people know that when you're using artificial intelligence, it is not a replacement for software developers. It cannot build complete software applications fully ready to go, and there is no need for a person to be involved. And we saw this with the T app, where somebody vibe coded it, and it was a utter disaster from a security standpoint. So I want to show you what I found when I ran AI. So I'm in GPT-5, and I'm going to ask it to solve for x 5.9 minus 5.11. And will it give me the answer 0.21? Will it give me the answer 0.21? Right? So others have asked it this question, and it goes through the process, and we end up with 0.79, which is the correct answer. So at this point, I've asked ChatGPT this question in different ways, 3 different times, and each time it has given me 0.79. And I've asked it to explain how it arrived at this answer. And the steps that it went through are the correct steps. So it definitely can explain and understand mathematics, right? So that's pretty promising and pretty positive. So it explains the mental math process that many of us would use to solve this problem, and it's able to replicate that accurately. So the question is, why do I get the correct answer, right? And why does it give us, the right answer to this when others were getting the wrong answer? And I had it explain again how it was able to walk through this problem and solve it properly. And as you can see, it's explaining it much the same way that an actual mathematician would explain it. And, I have my theory. Going into this, I had a theory as to why I was getting the right answer, right? So, I asked it, I was like, let's step out on a limb as to colloquialism go. When GPT-5 was released, there were many people that got the answer 0.29, actually 0.21, but I didn't remember that it was 0.21. That was the incorrect answer. I knew it was 0.2 something, right? But many people got the wrong answer. And there is a reason behind that that will be very clear here shortly. So I wanted to see if it could self-reflect and explain why there was this gap when it came to disclosing the right answer, right? And I told it I have my own theory, but I want to see what it says. And I generally do these thought experiments with ChatGPT where I let it know I have my own point of view, but I'm really interested in seeing what it came up with, right? And as you could see, when I hit the return key, when I click the button to submit my question to ChatGPT, it's taking its time, right? And that's going to be our first clue. Right now, when I asked the question in the beginning, we didn't get this type of, we didn't get this, right? What we got was a very quick response, or a fairly quick response, right? And, that is misleading in and of itself when it comes to my theory as to why ChatGPT is giving me the correct answer. So if you are in college or university or high school or anywhere like that, and you want to use the AI tools to assist you with your homework, to assist you with your lessons, or you are an educator, because more educators are now using these AI tools to build lesson plans and to put information together for lectures and for presentations to students. And in both of those cases, whether you are the teacher or the student, You want the information to be correct and be reliable and be accurate. And so that's what this discussion overall is about: AI quality. How do we ensure we're getting the right answer? And so here it comes back with its response, right? On why a large language model or even a rushed human being might come up with 0.29, right? And one of the things I could have done differently in asking this question was have it search the web search the internet for this controversy about getting the wrong answer. Also, it reminds me of those YouTube videos where people were like, hey, can you solve this math problem? And most people get the math problem wrong, right? It kind of reminds me of that. But here it's discussing the common way people might try to do this subtraction problem and get the wrong answer, right? And so I found its explanation to be very realistic when we're talking about how these things can take place. And I saw that it's incorporating some of my insights in explaining this process. So, when you want to get it correct, right, you'll notice that it's saying that pure language models don't inherently execute algorithms, right? They simulate them, right? It's a simulation of logic rather than actual logic, right? When we're talking about the AI at a certain level, that's the key word, at a certain level. And look how it say, if you're game, I'd love to hear your theory. So ChatGPT 4 would never respond like that. But that's cool because I kind of talk like that as well. If you're game, I'd love to hear your theory. I can compare it point by point against these mechanisms and stress test where they overlap or diverge. And then I let it know in terms of intellectual honesty, which is a value of critical thinking, that I actually didn't recall the bad result correctly, right? It's actually 0.21 rather than 0.29. If you go back and you look at what people are saying, they're saying that ChatGPT was giving the answer of 0.21, but I knew it was 0.2 something, but I came up with 0.29 as what people were reporting as the incorrect answer. So my theory is it is my custom instructions for ChatGPT that has guardrails against error. And I did not expect this outcome when I double checked the basic arithmetic problem. I did not expect that this would be a really good test for my custom instructions. But I've asked ChatGPT the answer to this question 3 times. Now, could OpenAI have tweaked ChatGPT so that it now gives the correct answer? That's always a possibility. So the best way to test my theory is to test it on a wide range of arithmetic problems that most humans get wrong and produce the wrong answer, but that it would reliably give the correct answer in every case. So without going into all of that, though, it's more like, okay, my theory is that my instructions prevent the AI from doing the wrong thing, and more stringently encourages it to do the right thing. And that's what I personally want, because I don't want a tool that gives incorrect information. So it's thinking about my theory, and I appreciate that. And it probably would have came back with a quicker response if I had thrown in the fact that I had misremembered the the incorrect result, or what the incorrect result was reported as being. But suffice it to say, it's using the processes of analysis to consider the ways in which my instructions prevent it from giving the wrong answer. So it's saying the accuracy doesn't come from slowing down per se, but by limiting the pathway the mind model takes, right? And so I have nudged the model into structured micro algorithms, so the variance goes down considerably, and it's a more stable model when it uses my instructions. So my theory is broadly right, guardrails that force explicit steps, right? And a unconstrained model, the default ChatGPT that most people use out of the box, it sometimes wants to give you the answer quickly. And in doing so, it skips steps. But with the instruction set that I've set up, that is far less likely to occur, because I've asked the model for certain things. I've encoded certain things, right? And the encoding of these particular parameters basically moves the model in a direction that is more stable, that is more consistent. And because the instructions I give it are consistent, right, then I am more likely to get a consistent result. That does not mean that when writing software code that you would get the same software code output, but it does mean that when writing software code, the instructions that I've come up with would result in more accurate software code that is output. So, it's looking at the fact that, so by default, a language model imitates procedures, it imitates steps, but it doesn't explicitly do those steps, right? So when I have prompts that are more explicit about the steps, then you're going to get a better result. But there's going to be a surprise when you actually see the instructions that I use, because the instructions that I use for ChatGPT are not mathematical, right? There is no mathematics in the instructions that I give it. So I'm going to have the AI evaluate my custom instructions, and I'm going to show them to you at the same time. And what I want it to do is more definitively explain why these custom instructions work so well in inducing accuracy and reducing, or in many cases eliminating, false answers. I don't know 100% that with these instructions, ChatGPT eliminates all incorrect answers. But I do know that when it comes to mathematics, and when it comes to software development, when it comes to explaining the news, current events, analyzing documents, that the accuracy rate is very high, so high that it would take an expert to really work through if there are any inaccuracies, right? There would not be any blatant inaccuracies. So I just pasted in all the custom instructions, right? And so it has taken a moment to evaluate that. And it's a non-mathematical instruction set that still sets up ChatGPT into a reasoning posture rather than a what you would call a fast fluency posture. And so what this does is it induces multi-step thinking. Restate the problem and summarize it. So not just restate the problem, but summarize it at the same time. Contextualize the operation. So let's get what the true context is, right? And then let's look at the comprehensive implications. And so the check clarity, depth, and logical flow clause makes it more likely to do sanity checks, right? The emphasis on factual truthfulness, gap reduction, and intellectual thoroughness subtly biases the model towards accuracy. And we are forcing normalization. And, you know, if you need to really read through this, I would encourage you to pause the video or look at the link that will be posted in the comments. That is a link to a web page that I wrote, an article that I published that explains these custom instructions. And so, so now the tokens that are used for the context itself is more predictive, and it creates a more cognitive mode. So many of these explanations say essentially the same thing, that we have a layered, formal, methodological approach that does slow down the LLM just enough that it's able to achieve a stability. And so while the approach I've taken with my instructions are what you might consider largely philosophical and largely logical, mathematics is logical. So there is a synchronicity there. There is harmony there. That my emphasis on logic, reasoning, structure, and order has had a very positive effect, not only on the things that I normally use ChatGPT for, which is largely writing, strategy, analysis, and data analysis and data science, but it has a derivative positive impact on areas such as mathematics and software coding and producing structured technical artifacts. And so this entire situation has been very good for me as a way to double check what is going on with ChatGPT and how it may be best used. So I said in the beginning that I have seen a gap between what some people were saying when it came to AI being ready for prime time versus what some people are seeing as a trivial toy that doesn't really amount to anything. And here's what I am now starting to when I'm starting to think. There's no evidence for what I'm saying, but this is my my insight. I think that, and I picked up this insight in part from another video I watched with Peter Diamandis. He had like this panel of experts, like 5 people that were experts in mathematics, computer science, logic, and all kinds of things, philosophy, and they were and one insight that one person put out was that OpenAI, I like to call OpenAI ChatGPT as if they're synonymous, but the company OpenAI, the organization, the theory that was posed by one of these individuals, and it may have been Ishmael, or it could have been the individual that was overseeing stability diffusion. But the theory was that OpenAI keeps the best AI for themselves, that they don't release the very best AI to the public. And that it would be very smart for many organizations such as Google, um, the organization that runs DeepSeek, and other AI models out there and tools, Anthropic, for them to reserve the very best AI for themselves. And I call this the Microsoft effect. Why would Microsoft give you the ability to make an operating system as good as theirs? Right? Why would Microsoft, well, let's remove that example because my previous video established that their operating system isn't as good as it could be. So, but why would they give you the tools as a software developer to make a Microsoft Office or make an Office program as good as they have made it on Microsoft Windows? So if Microsoft is giving you as a software developer tools to write software programs, why would they ever give you tools as a software developer that would then allow you to turn around and compete with them? Right? That's how some organizations think. That's why many of us, we prefer open source, we prefer Linux, we prefer those types of environments because that type of exclusivity is not part of the equation. And so everyone can get access to the very best. The code is out in the open, and if it turns out to be the very best way, if a particular tool in the open source world turns out to be the very best way to do something, everybody has access to it, not just the people who made that tool, right? And so there is a possibility that OpenAI has the best version of ChatGPT for themselves, and that what the public has is an acceptable, highly knowledgeable version at different levels and different tiers, right? So the default version for anyone who've never used ChatGPT is going to be the lowest grade of intelligence, and it's going to make a lot of mistakes. The highest tier, right, is those that pay $200 a month, and they're getting what's called ChatGPT 5 Thinking Pro, and that's going to give you something that is maybe 30% or 40%, maybe 70% of what ChatGPT or what OpenAI themselves have internally. It might get you 70%, but that last 30%, that belongs to OpenAI. And then in the middle is everyone else that wants, a better model, better tools, but your mileage will vary based on how you're able to use the tool. And so the instructions that I have formulated, they work on the free version of ChatGPT as well as the paid version of ChatGPT. It works all across the board. These instructions also work in Google Gemini. I've tested it there as well. I have not used Claude. And so, and if DeepSeek had the ability, I haven't checked here in the last couple of weeks, but since the release of DeepSeek, I haven't seen the ability to put in custom instructions. But if I did have that ability with DeepSeek, I'm sure DeepSeek would be even more powerful than it is. So that's what I'm seeing is that now my mind has changed. I've changed my mind based on my own experiments, based on my own pushing the envelope with the AI tools at the level that I'm using them. And that is, yes, the AI is a real thing. And with the right input, with the right management, with the right tailoring and oversight from a human being, someone such as myself that can think about strategies and plans and parameters and guidelines and policies and procedures, even in the real world where I work as a manager and I have to think about policies, procedures, structure, and those sorts of things. I worked with software requirements. I worked through the software quality process. And all of that I was able to pour into the AI tool and see a much better result. And now I'm at the stage where I want to refine this tool even more. I want to refine the instructions that I'm using, right? And so that's one of my projects that I'm working on for the next a couple of weeks, is to refine my instructions so that I get even better results from ChatGPT, because I know people use multiple AIs and I do as well, but it's more convenient and it's more efficient, more streamlined to use one, right? And I know I'm talking a lot about ChatGPT. I do predict, like I predicted 2 years ago. There's a video I put out where 2 years ago I predicted that long term Google is going to win in AI, and I'm going to put a little caveat on that now. Google will win AI in the United States. It is not guaranteed that Google would win AI across the world. It's not guaranteed that Google would win globally, because I think China has an edge there. But at least in the United States, I think Google at least has the potential for better um, AI implementation in terms of their infrastructure. They got more servers than anybody else. They have more PhDs than anybody else. They have all of the right ingredients to produce a superior AI model and approach long term. Can they turn that into a better user interface? Can they turn that into something that is going to be more streamlined? Um, the jury is still out on that, and so it remains to be seen. But yeah, that's my overall take on this whole issue of AI quality. And you know, I have a lot more that I am talking with ChatGPT about here. Um, it kind of um, it kind of coaxed me into an early experiment in the refinement of custom instructions, and that's another 30 minutes that I spent with ChatGPT on that. And so now I have some general ideas for refining the custom instructions. So I will talk about that at a future time.